Zara pressed her blue fingers against the cold metal wall of the human ship and felt her hearts beating faster than normal. The strange vessel had crashed on her planet 3 cycles ago, and she had been studying the lone survivor ever since. The human called himself Danny, and he was unlike any creature she had ever encountered. Her people, the Valathi, were tall and graceful with smooth blue skin and large silver eyes. They reproduced through a simple mental bond that required no physical contact. The idea of breeding through actual touching seemed primitive yet somehow fascinating to Zara, who served as her people's chief xenobiologist. Danny sat in the medical bay where she had been treating his injuries. His brown hair was messy and his green eyes always seemed to be watching her with an intensity that made her skin tingle, in ways she did not understand. Unlike her people who wore flowing robes, Danny preferred tight-fitting clothes that showed the unusual muscular build of his species. She approached him with her datapad, ready to continue her research on human biology. Her scientific curiosity had been driving her to learn everything about this mysterious visitor from the stars. The other Valathi council members wanted to keep Danny isolated, but Zara had convinced them that understanding humans could be valuable for future contact. Danny looked up as she entered and gave her what he called a smile. The strange expression where humans showed their teeth had initially frightened her, but now she found it oddly pleasant. There was something about the way his face changed that made her feel warm inside. She began her usual examination routine, checking his temperature and scanning his vital signs. When she placed her hand on his chest to feel his heartbeat, something unexpected happened. She noticed a change in his body that she had observed before but never understood. A particular part of his anatomy seemed to respond to her touch in a way that puzzled her scientific mind. Unable to contain her curiosity any longer, Zara tilted her head and asked the question that had been bothering her for days. "Human, why does your breeding tool grow when I touch it?" she said in her careful pronunciation of his language. Danny's face turned several shades of red, which she had learned was a human response called blushing. He shifted uncomfortably on the examination table and looked away from her. The reaction only made her more curious about this strange biological function. "It's complicated," he said finally. "Humans have different responses than your people do." Zara moved closer, her scientific mind fully engaged. She had studied many species, but none had such unusual breeding mechanisms. Her people simply joined minds when they wished to create offspring. The physical aspect of human reproduction was a mystery that her research demanded she solve. "But it happens every time I touch you," she observed. "Is this normal for your species when encountering other life forms?" Danny laughed, which was another human expression she found intriguing. "No, it's not about other life forms," he said. "It's about attraction." Attraction, she repeated the word carefully. "What does this mean?" He tried to explain how humans felt drawn to others based on physical and emotional connections. The concept was alien to her people who chose mates through logical compatibility testing. Yet as Danny spoke about human emotions and desires, Zara felt something stirring within her own chest. She reached out to touch his arm again and watched with fascination as his body responded. The growing tension in the room was something new to her. Her people were always calm and controlled, but being near Danny made her feel excited and unpredictable. Danny caught her hand in his much larger one. His skin was warm and rough compared to her smooth blue flesh. The contact sent strange sensations through her body that her medical training had not prepared her for. She found herself moving closer to him, drawn by an impulse she did not fully understand. "Your people do not feel this," he asked softly. Zara shook her head. "We choose mates through logic," she explained. "Emotion is not part of our breeding process." "That sounds lonely," Danny said. She considered his words. Lonely was not a concept her people acknowledged. They had companionship and intellectual connection. But as she looked into Danny's green eyes, she wondered if there was something her species had been missing. "Show me," she said suddenly. "Show me how humans express attraction." Danny hesitated, clearly struggling with some internal conflict. "Your people might not understand," he said. "This could cause problems for both of us." But Zara was beyond caring about potential diplomatic issues. Her scientific curiosity had evolved into something deeper. She wanted to understand not just human biology, but human emotion. She wanted to experience what Danny called attraction. "I am the lead researcher," she said with authority. "I decide what is important for my people to learn." Danny stood up slowly, and Zara realized how much taller he was than her, despite humans being considered small by galactic standards. He placed his hands gently on either side of her face, and she felt her breathing quicken. The touch was soft yet firm and entirely different from the clinical contact she was used to. "Are you sure?" he asked. She nodded, unable to speak as new sensations flooded through her body. When Danny brought his lips to hers, she experienced something that no amount of scientific study could have prepared her for. The kiss was warm and electric, sending waves of feeling through her entire being. Her silver eyes widened as she understood for the first time what human attraction meant. It was not just biological function, but an entire experience that engaged body and mind together. She pressed closer to him, instinctively responding to impulses she had never felt before. When they separated, both were breathing heavily. Zara looked at Danny with new understanding. This was why his breeding tool responded to her touch. It was not just mechanical reaction, but expression of desire and connection. "Now I understand," she whispered. Danny smiled again, but this time the expression looked different to her. There was warmth and affection in it that she had not recognized before. "Do you regret learning?" he asked. Zara considered the question. Her people valued knowledge above all else, and what she had learned about humans was far more complex and fascinating than she had expected. She was beginning to realize that humans were not primitive at all, but possessed emotional intelligence that her species lacked. "No," she said firmly. "But I think I understand now why your people are so successful as a species." Danny raised an eyebrow, another human expression she was learning to read. "What do you mean?" She gestured toward him. "Your emotions make you strong," she explained. "They drive you to protect and fight and love in ways my people cannot. This is why you survived the crash. This is why you adapted so quickly to our world." Danny nodded slowly. "Emotions can be difficult, but they also give us motivation." Zara realized that her research had led her to a discovery much more important than simple biological function. Humans were successful because they combined intelligence with passion. They were driven by feelings that pushed them beyond logical limitations. She thought about her own people and their careful, controlled existence. They were advanced and peaceful, but perhaps they had sacrificed something important in their pursuit of pure logic. Watching Danny, she saw strength that came from caring deeply about things beyond mere survival. The medical bay door chimed, indicating someone was approaching. Zara stepped back from Danny, quickly remembering her professional duties. But something fundamental had changed between them. She no longer saw him as just a research subject, but as something much more complex and valuable. Elder Korvac entered the room, his tall blue form radiating disapproval. "We heard elevated bio readings from this area," he said coldly. "Is the human causing problems?" Zara looked at Danny, who stood calmly despite being outnumbered. She realized this was a moment that would define not just their relationship, but potentially the future between their species. "No," she said with conviction. "The human is teaching us things we need to learn." Elder Korvac frowned. What could this primitive creature possibly teach the Valathi? Zara met his silver eyes steadily. "He is teaching us that there is more to intelligence than logic alone. Humans combine thought with feeling in ways that make them remarkably adaptable and strong." She looked back at Danny, who was watching the exchange with interest but no fear. His calmness in the face of potential danger was itself a demonstration of the human qualities she was trying to explain. "I recommend we extend our study period," she continued. "There is much more to learn from human behavioral patterns and emotional responses." Elder Korvac was clearly displeased, but Zara was the chief xenobiologist, and her recommendations carried weight. "Very well," he said finally, "but maintain proper scientific protocols." After he left, Danny turned to her with that warm smile again. "Thank you," he said. Zara felt her heart skip again at his expression. She was beginning to understand that her attraction to Danny was not just scientific curiosity. She was developing what humans would call feelings for this strange visitor from the stars. "What happens next?" she asked. Danny moved closer again, reaching for her hand. "That depends on what you want to happen." Zara looked down at their joined hands, his darker skin contrasting with her blue flesh. The simple contact still sent those electric sensations through her body. She was discovering that humans had taught her species something valuable about the connection between physical and emotional experience. "I want to learn more," she said. "Abo."